For more reaction and analysis on that story, we're joined by eNCA's Power to Truth host, Tabane. JJ, I was saying here that you're probably, as you were listening to that judgment, you were chanting, "This is a mess. It's a disaster." What's your reaction?
Listen, this is a fitting celebration or commemoration of the 25th year of the Constitution. I said last night on the show that if this doesn't happen, if the Concord dilly-dallies, it will be to hell with the Constitution, because it will simply mean that you and I, if we are summoned by the courts, we could dilly-dally and give all sorts of political excuses, because we've got a group of our friends who can come and camp outside our house. So it would have been a terrible mess if the Concord dilly-dallied. And a lot of people thought they were going to dilly-dally in terms of the sentence, given that the Chief Justice, besides not being at work, but wrote a letter, to Zuma to say, what should we send? How much should we sentence you? And that was seen as kowtowing to Zuma and so on. But the legal experts have told us that every accused, particularly on the issue of contempt, has to be given a chance to explain themselves. Number two, given the chance to comment on their sentence, either in mitigation or, if they are unlucky, the opposition would comment on aggravation. So, in a sense, Clement, I think for us, this is a great day for the rule of law, Clement, because if you look at all failed states, it starts with the undermining of the judiciary, the undermining of the media, undermining of institutions, and then from there, it's chaos.
Well, how significant is this, JJ? And you're right, it's important for the rule of law, for the supremacy of the Constitution. It really is victory for our constitutional democracy. But what does this mean then for the African National Congress? Because that's surely going to divide members of the ANC. There are those that think that the former president must be allowed to enjoy his retirement, even though he defies the Constitution. For some reason, they think you must not touch him. He's old and he's a former president. He fought for the liberation. And there are those who understand how important it is to respect our constitutional democracy and for the judiciary to be so independent that it sends such a strong message that no one is unequal before the law. What do you think this moment signifies for the African National Congress?
Look, it's a wake-up call in many respects. We won't have enough time to talk about all the implications for them. But let me tackle two things. One, it's an indictment on the ANC, right? Because the ANC prides itself with this collectivism and discipline and what have you, right? Yet they failed to discipline Zuma. They failed as a top six to say to Zuma, we hear what you are saying, but unfortunately, as a movement, we have taken a decision that the Zondo Commission will be respected and everybody has to go there. At what point did they prioritize Zuma's feelings and his own victimhood, right, over the ANC's decision that the president himself of the ANC had to respect to go to the Zondo Commission? So it's an indictment on the ANC in that way, in that it reflects on them, because in fact, if they had prevailed over Zuma, like any party should be able to prevail over its members who are disciplined, then they wouldn't be having this situation where he's going to prison, because he would have been at the Zondo Commission at the instruction of his own party. So that's the first big implication here, which we need not tiptoe around. The second big implication, obviously, is that it may strengthen Ramaphosa's hand and those who want to see, the back of Zuma's, shenanigans and the so-called 10 wasted, whatever you may think of those sentiments, right? And it may also send a warning shot to the likes of Mahashule, the likes of Bongo, who are before the courts, that when they do get found guilty and sentenced to 15 years minimum sentence for the fraud and whatever else they are accused of, they mustn't think the country will be up on its feet trying to get them not to do that because they are politically connected. So those are the implications, that Zondo's report, when it comes out, people who are in front of him telling us lies and so on must understand that politics will not be enough to get them off the hook, Clement.
Yeah. What do you say to some people, JJ, who have argued, well, maybe the court should have given him the option to either appear at the state capture inquiry, so you give him the last chance to appear before the state capture inquiry, or he faces jail time. But
he's already refused.
Yeah, and already he's already refused. And even Justice Kampempe did indicate that that is not going to be effective, because this is someone who's already indicated and has shown no interest whatsoever to comply with the order and go to the state capture inquiry. What do you say to those people who say, fine, he's going to jail for 15 months, but the point is, he's not going to appear before the state capture inquiry, and this sends a message to other people next time that, they'll just refuse to go to the inquiry because, I'll just go serve 15 months. But the point is, I didn't stand before an inquiry and I was humiliated and asked questions I was uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about that, because I would have wanted to hear what Zuma has to say. But if his brief appearance at the commission is anything to go by, all we're going to get were denials. We've got 40 witnesses, right? Remember, we are not living in Mars. The inquiry is only confirming what you and I know. We live these things. These people, we live amongst these people. The people who are stealing and so on are our neighbors. They are our branch members if we are members of parties. They are parishioners if we are in the church. They're not from another planet. So to exaggerate what we are going to hear from what 40 witnesses have already told us, I think for me there was a balance that we needed to find here, to say, remember, he's being sentenced for defying the highest constitution he's not yet been found or punished for defying the commission itself. That may still come if after he gets out, for some reason he's called, this time it will be criminal charges. Because remember, because he refused to go to the commission, doesn't mean the commission cannot arrive at a conclusion.
Exactly, yeah.
Courts,
doesn't mean he's absolved.
Yeah, courts,
he's not absolved.
Yeah, courts have arrived at medical. That's why if you don't pitch up, Clement, then you owe me money, I take you to court. There's what you call summary judgment. You are not there because you refuse to come. But it doesn't mean we can't arrive at a conclusion looking at your emails exchanges, signed contracts, you name it. So I think that this exaggerated thing that says we must at all costs beg Zuma to come to the commission. He's already told us he doesn't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know whether people forgot. He was there for 5 days. He wouldn't remember anything.
Yeah.
The only thing he remembered was that he was president. The rest he didn't remember anything.
Yeah.
So I think that without being emotional about it, the court was very measured, Clement. They were very methodical. But I must tell you, I think they were also irritated with him. You know, the courts have a system of rehabilitation. They believe in rehabilitation. That's why when you appear before the court, you can use as a mitigation of sentence. That is your first offense. In terms of Zuma, it's a big second big judgment in the Concord when he's being called to order to respect the Constitution. Yeah. It's not that if you think these things that Kampempe were reading is harsh, go and read Mogoeng.
Yeah.
Who I don't know why he was on leave in this very important moment. Yeah. But Mogoeng was very clear and very direct to Zuma the last time around to say you are out of line.
I need to ask you. Sorry, JJ, we're out of time, but there's one thing I need to ask you, just one last thing I need to ask you. But before I do, I actually found the notes that I was making when Justice Kampempe was answering the question, why is he not given the last time to appear? And this is what she said. She said, the suspended sentence order will be futile and inappropriate in this case. Zuma has repeatedly reiterated that he would rather be imprisoned than cooperate. So it defies logic that a suspended sentence, which gives him another opportunity to comply, would be effective, because he's already said he's not prepared to comply. So that would be really a waste of time. What do you say to those that are going to use the minority judgment now to further their political points? I mean, Kebi Mapatso was telling me earlier how we must listen to the minority judgment, and somehow you're giving prominence to this minority judgment as if, in fact, it provides some level of weight, when in fact, at this stage, the majority judgment is the one that we're listening to, even though it's just significant for us to go back and hear what the other justices would have thought in their dissenting judgment. Yeah,
that would be intellectually dishonest and lazy. To use the majority. In many judgments, the minority judgments are allowed. That's why we're a democracy. We have freedom of speech, which means that the judges have also freedom of intellectual expression. In other words, they don't have to all agree like sheep, right? However, in a democracy, even in the courts, a majority judgment has to, otherwise people will debate forever, you can't debate in perpetuity. You got to debate and agree on something that a lot of the justices would agree. Otherwise, they would just have appointed only one judge of the Concord. They have 11 with 11 brains, you know.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that the minority judgment, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, minority judgment in a developing democracy like ours are important in jurisprudence, are important in sharpening the very constitution, so that in the future we can learn from some of those perspectives. It will be good for students in academia and so on. It's not going to help Zuma today.
Yeah.
No, it will help students of law to try and look at different angles to arrive at a more enriched democracy, especially as we get to 25 years of our constitution.
Yeah, I suspect
a good day for the constitution.
Yeah, I suspect the RET forces will now be branding those that supported the majority judgment as the ones that were bought by white monopoly capital. I suspect that. JJ, we have to leave it there, man. Thank you so much for making time. Power to the Truth host, JJ Tabane.